the Core Cast. Welcome to Shoot the Core Cast, the official companion podcast to the RF Generation Shmup Club. This is the family-friendly shmup-themed podcast that's not into escargot, but we sure do like assault on our shell. From rfgeneration.com, I am MetalFRO, also known as Game Boy Guru, and my co-pilot on this mission, as always, is...
Addicted. Oh, sorry. Terrible joke. Oh boy. Great. All right. As always, is Addicted, also known as Addicted to Shmups.
Yes, and we have a special guest with us today, none other than Someguy, the developer of the game that we're going to be talking about today. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Someguy, and I'm the leader of the Team Overloaded Studios.
Excellent. Well, before we get too far down the road here, if you'd like to connect with us, we'll want to let you know how to do that. You can follow us on Twitter at ShootCoreCast. You can also follow me directly at GameBoyGuru. All of the feeds for our podcast are available from our Linktree page. That is linktr.ee/shootthecorecast. You can also join rfgeneration.com and come join us in a Shmup Club playthrough. Please subscribe, like, rate, review, etc. the podcast on your preferred platform. We have read reviews of the podcast on episodes before, so if you do that, let us know, and we'll include your review. Also, join the RF Generation Discord channel, which is linked from the front page of RF Generation, and we have a dedicated Shoot the Corecast topic there, where you can talk about the game of the month, talk about the episode, post high scores, or talk about shmups in general. And also, feel free to follow me on Twitch to get notifications of new streams, since I do stream the Shmup Club Game of the Month multiple times during the course of the month. That is twitch.tv/GuruGameBoy.
We'd also like to mention RF Generation. That's rfgeneration.com, where we have a community playthrough that's done by our friends at the RF Generation Playcast, and I'd like to shout out to the RF Generation Collector Cast as well. RF Generation has a great database where you can catalog your games, so you're not buying your 50-second copy of Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt. You can make certain that you've got everything in your collection the way it should be and know exactly what you have.
Yes, and we don't have an iOS app yet, but the Android app is very handy. I've been using that quite a bit.
It certainly beats Excel.
Yes. All right, so the question of the month that I posed on Twitter is, what elements primarily draw you to the genre of shooting games? And we got a fair few good responses. So first up, we have The Boot Rex, who says, overcoming challenges / problem solving, and the Zen flow state you get into where you stop thinking and only act mindfully. I legit think it's good for your mental health. I replaced sitting meditation with shmups, and I have basically the same benefits in my life because of it.
Definitely not playing Gradius 3 for that meditation.
Yeah.
All right, our next comment comes from @DubSRB, the drive to get better. I wholeheartedly agree. The challenge that you get from it and the ability to map your progress and burst through those walls and feel like you getting past the section is a big draw to it. I have come into spots where before with a STG or something where I'm thinking, how the heck did I do this? How are there people doing this? And then to actually be able to do it yourself, it just seems like you're performing a certain type of magic.
Yeah.
It's great. N Shmups, also known as Shmups and Stuff on Switch, says, it's a pinned tweet on his account. While I love Shmups, reason number 216, Shmups respect your time. No faffing in the menus, no half-hour explanation before you get to do anything, no landscape traversal that requires literally no skill, no padding, no fetching, no captain exposition, just get in your ship and go.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the calendar I'm going to get you for Christmas, Guru. It's going to be Why I Love Shmups, 365 Reasons.
Oh, man.
You tear away one per day.
There you go. I could dig that.
That'd be amazing.
Hauser says, it's a burst of energy, an audio and visual explosion, a sensory overdrive from the start.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about shmups, and I think we'll get into this too, where shmups are like food, right? You start by what you hear and what you see first, and then you get into how does it play, or in the example of food here, how does it taste?
Sure.
And I think that with shmups we do a lot more with our eyes and our ears first before we ever decide to sample the gameplay. It'd be interesting to expound upon this later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? The Alien Soldier thing. Sound shock. Visual shock. Shock.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the... when you said shock, all I could think about was the Neo Geo, whereas my phone likes to autocorrect it to Bro Geo.
Right.
With their Mega Shock. I mean, that was their whole idea, bigger, better sprites. And it'll be interesting to see. Well, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
Our next comment comes to us from Ian CSC. It's immediate test of execution, reflex, memory, and focus. Skills that transfer over to basically all action games. Yeah, there is something to be said, and it was said in an earlier comment, where you sort of get in that state where you can block things out, and it's just like with a pinball machine. I know I've heard people like Mark MSX compare it to pinball as well, where you sort of get in the zone where you can start keeping things out of your periphery. I'm not going to start calling like STG wizard like Tommy here, but there's something to it that I appreciate with shmups, where it's just you and the game, and you don't get that from many other genres.
It's like a date. And I've been on one, but it's like a date. Except you're the player, and your date's the shmup. Our next comment comes from Damakuman 1. Damakuman 1. He says it's simple to play, most of the time, and hard to master. 99% of the games have awesome music. That's a fact.
Yeah, shmups are very well known for excellent soundtracks. Obviously, there are a handful of stinkers here and there.
Mosquitoes.
Very rarely, though.
1942, so. I'm looking at you. But
I'm looking at 8 Forces.
Oh, right.
I had to play that for Callus, and that was the only thing I could hear for that week.
Wow. Yeah, but generally speaking, the games usually have outstanding music. At Fireshark MD, also known as Corkman here on RF Generation, says, I come for the chaotic Twitch gameplay. I stay for the Zen meditative state when playing them. I hear that a lot. That seems to be a thing that more and more people are saying, that they see shmups as kind of this Zen game. I don't see that. That's not my thing. It doesn't happen to me. I do get in the zone sometimes, but I certainly don't have a Zen state while I'm playing them.
Oh,
there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
There's the Zen state, then there's reset heck.
Right. Perpetual rage quit.
I have to say that there's nothing like that. It's almost like when people are describing a runner's high, when we're talking about that Zen state, is there's nothing like being able to just navigate your ship through a hail of bullets and successfully come out. There's a really good rush that comes with that, and it I guess the closest I could come up to is like a runner's high.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Our next comment comes to us from @needs new shorts. Now, hopefully we'll get him some shorts one day, so that way he can change it to has new shorts.
We gotta start a GoFundMe.
I like when I can hold down a button and it's just blasting away. The skill of dodging. I'm big on going in, guns a-blazing. You know, there's a lot of fun that can be said too for just having that firepower and just hitting that and letting that go with the focus shot. There, the Dodonpachi games are a lot of fun for doing that stuff. Trying to think of, like Blue Revolver is also another fun one where it just feels good to hold down that focus shot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, next comment is from the Daddy Otaku one. He says, dodging a maze of shots and rapid-fire created explosions. Look, a good shrimp gotta have good explosions. If they don't have good explosions, it's like you're just shooting out a bunch of flat bubble wrap.
Nice. @Cephalopod1 says, shoot 'em ups are great stress relievers. Quick to launch, and the good ones keep you wanting to give it one more go.
I know that feeling.
Oh yes.
Just one more.
Our next comment comes to us from @EasyRacer. Gameplay answer, something that is fairly quick-paced and more about reflexes and dodging, with weapons that feel overpowered even though they're not. I like it more when there's multiple paths through a level, even if there is a best option. Well, aesthetics answer. I love the shooters based more on mechanical world than the organic world, planes and robots, then more planes and robots. Well, we've got one for you. It's called R-Type.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
With games that offer dodging instead of pathing, I think they're a lot more easier for people to get into, and Dodonpachi sort of or those type of cave games have a set route that you usually would need to follow in order for survival or for scoring, and it really doesn't deviate from there. It's not one of those things where if you were a new player to the genre that you could deviate from and get a lot of enjoyment from. So I definitely like twitch shooting. I don't like stuff being pre-planned unless it's something that I'm specifically going for mastery of a game. I do like that sort of random element of chance. We talked about this in the Project Starship X one. How much random is good in a STG or shmup to make the mechanics not seem old, right? We don't want it going all 1942 where everything is sniping you, but at the same time we don't want everything to be pre-programmed, because then you're just figuring out the quickest way to make your way through. There's got to be something a little bit in between to allow a little bit more freedom and experimentation. And I think I shocked everybody here.
That's a good answer. Our next answer comes from Bullet Pattern. They say, no longer deductions, immediate action, beautiful sprites, huge explosions, the music, a feeling of nostalgia and the connection with my youth, and a feeling of accomplishment. What's not to like?
The best thing I'll say about explosions is they have to sound right and they have to look right. It sounds weird to say this, but it's something that really, ever since Steel Vampire, it really hits home on how good a good punch of an explosion or a good-looking explosion adds to the experience. If it's too much and it sort of just sounds overblown in your speakers, it just sort of feels like you're just shooting things with a Nerf gun instead of a laser cannon.
Yeah.
@Chris Josephowitz says, primary draw is art and game design. For art, love the sci-fi style. For design, love the simple gameplay that has endless variations and tension between genre conventions and originality. I've often struggled to understand the draw, but shmups are perfect little worlds for me. Nice.
Well, now I got that Wonderful World on stuck in What a Wonderful World. I'm not going to sing it. I'll be our next comment comes to us from Fat Pug Studio. I like the name. Power Trip plus high-tech stuff. Power Trip plus high-tech stuff. That seems a lot similar to what we're getting with our current game of the month here.
Yes. Our next answer comes from Maruyo Saka. They say directing the story and gameplay are integrated. Nice. That is actually a good answer. I like games when they sort of combine story elements with when you're playing the game, such as games like G Darius.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our friends over at CollectorCast say pick up and play short play sessions. Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't say play Dark Souls. Our next, speaking of CollectorCast, our next comment comes to us from @Kelsey Polnick. Visual style and cool weapons draw me in. Solid gameplay and awesome soundtrack keep me around. Yeah, I again with the food metaphor, I think visually it really has to draw you in. Even in cases where you've got a finger for a protagonist, you better have something interesting that finger's going to do in order to really draw you in. And I think that Starship X did a pretty good job, or Project Starship X did a pretty good job with that, and some people might say it went a little too far with the eye candy and the flashiness. But
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does draw people in, I will say.
Yeah, it's almost like a resume, right? Your shmup is like your graphics are a resume. You got 30 seconds to tell somebody visually why they should pick your game.
You gotta sell them with your visuals.
Yep.
Our next answer comes from Pony Tachigen. He says that it's instant, no BS, teaches muscle memory and quick reflexes, especially with psycho shooters. And most shmups have their own unique mechanics to keep things fresh. Oh, and cool ships. Lots of cool ships. Cool ships for days. I definitely want to see more cool ships in shmups.
Yeah, definitely a draw.
Mm-hmm.
I could also go with some flying penguins or something on there too. Let's go, or octopuses, or
oh yeah,
or
but it goes on rockets.
Go full Parodius there. @Gastari says, originally just as a way to pass time. I quickly got hooked to dodging. To this day, I think dodging is what I like the most in shmups. It's just so much fun.
I could see that like as an iPhone game just by itself. You know, there are people who just love grinding in LRPGs or JRPGs. I could just see it's just a shmup, but all you do is dodge. I'm sure someone's already made something similar to that for an iPhone game.
I'm pretty sure they did. I don't remember any, but I know there's like quite a few good mobile shmups like Bullet Hell Monday and Akata Blue.
Yeah, and Danmaku Unlimited. 3?
Those two.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah, I think you're right though, Addicted. In fact, I want to say I downloaded a dodging only sort of a shmup practice kind of dodging practice game maybe 2 phones ago, and had a little bit of fun with that one.
Ooh.
2 phones ago, that could have been 6 months in today's terms.
Oh no, I have kept my phones around surprisingly long.
All right, our next one comes to us from @DaringSpino34. Music, but then the gameplay interests me and makes me get into shmups. Yeah, music does a lot for shmups too. I think music is what keeps you interested, and you just find yourself really humming along. I think it also at least in the arcade setting, does a really good job for making things stand out. I mean, who doesn't remember, or who didn't grow up in the 90s and remember the yell from Nom 1975? You could hear that across the arcade. That was a great way to announce, like, hey, I'm here, come play this game.
The attract modes in games are important because they draw people in to play them. It's definitely gotta have that good tune that's like, ooh, I like this. Let's see what this is like. Ooh, man, this game's sick.
Yeah, I'm surprised that 1942 didn't make people go, what is that thing? That is annoying. Get that out of here. But again, it was 1984.
It is. And our final answer from Twitter people is from Gullum Live. They said, I think SDGs tend to be simpler than other genres. 2D, simple movement, slim inventory. Shmups doesn't need to be long. It's definitely those kind of comfy games that you can pick up and play through and go like, that was nice. It's a real good way to pass the time.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone who participated and gave answers this month. We really appreciate it. So now I want to talk to you guys and find out what is it that draws you to the genre. And I would say answer however you want, whether it's what initially drew you to the genre or what draws you now or some combination of both.
You can go first, Dicky.
All right. For me, I would have to say shmups for me are easy to get into but hard to master. And I like the ability to be able to play 5 minutes or less and feel like I've got some, as people would say, it respects your time or gotten something out of it. I want to be able to be good enough to instinctively dodge stuff or be able to memorize patterns, but at the same time I want to deep dive into stuff to be good, so that way, you know, I'm can channel somebody in Japanese arcade, you know, with one hand beating R-Type 2. I want to be able to go in between the extremes. And one of the things I really love about the genre is a lot of the skills transfer. I could be playing Futari, and then all of a sudden I can play Danmaku Unlimited 3, and a lot of the dodging and the reflexes I pick in that will transfer through and help me get better throughout. It's almost like a lot of the patterns that you see are copied or variations of, and you get in, and it sort of becomes a second language that you're picking up. Like, okay, so this is going to go this way, this goes this way. How big is my hitbox? And I think that, and be careful here, I'm going to use the T word. I think that's what makes Toho so appealing. It's a good way for people to get their foundations and their first taste of, and then they get used to all the different patterns. I certainly have been getting a lot better since playing some of the Toho games in recognizing those patterns. There was the first boss of Assault Shell, which I know Guru was having problems with. I found at least a little bit difficult. I had an easier time with because I was used to those patterns from playing Toho games. So I think it's a genre that builds upon itself. It rewards your time. It's something that is quick and easy to play for the most part, and you can get a lot of enjoyment whether you spend hours or even a couple minutes with it.
Yeah, that's what the mastery is fulfilling, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely never, no matter what type of bite you take out of your STG, it will always leave you feeling satisfied, and I appreciate that about the genre.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. For me, what drew me into shmups were essentially me feeling like the absolute ace. It makes me feel not only powerful, but also cool. ever since I started playing shmups for my PlayStation 2, I've been playing Race Storm, stuff like that. It just makes me feel feel so good when you're shooting down the tanks, then the airships, then the mechs, then the giant core. It's just that scale that you're going through. One stage, you can be just shooting through a bunch of tanks, finishing off like a platoon or something. Then the next stage, later on, last stage, you'll be fighting God. And just that scale of like action-packed shooting intensity is something I always love about shmups. It's just that good shooty feeling, the good, it fills your bloodlust. And I say that's always good, filling your bloodlust on a shmup than something else. I'm not gonna encourage anything. But for me, shmups, the sort of power trip, like someone said before, that power trip I get from playing shmups just makes me feel so good. It just feels good to shoot stuff, you know? Destroy them all. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think a lot of it started when I was, a young kid playing Atari 2600 at my next door neighbor's house and early NES games. It's sort of simple joy of moving a craft or a ship or a plane or something around the screen and blasting stuff. And just that instant feedback, that instant, I guess you would call it, hit of dopamine or what have you, but that satisfaction that you get from, I saw the target, I engaged the target, I eliminated the target, and that's kind of a clinical way to look at it, but it's these little experiences that come in quick succession that sort of help sustain that kind of elongated experience of sort of enjoying just being in the moment with a game like that. And I think when I started to really play these types of games more in earnest as I got older, I realized how expansive they could be as experiences, as audio-visual wonders in a way, and in terms of throwing in new mechanics, doing interesting things, and really just sort of engaging you on multiple levels at once, and making you think quickly on your feet, and sort of stimulating you intellectually, but in little bite-sized chunks, if you know what I mean. So I think really that's what has sustained the genre for me as something that I just want to continue to go back to. That sort of, trying to think of how to put this, but that arcade mentality of, just one more try, and going back and getting a little bit better every time, or chipping away at something until you really improve. It's a very satisfying feeling, and yeah, there are bouts of frustration along the way, but every hill that you manage to get over is just another small victory on the way to total domination of a game. It's just a very satisfying loop as far as I'm concerned.
It's the little things that matter.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, we had a small crew this month. It was just myself and Addicted, Mini Console Man, Cork Man, and then we also had Reticulon join again. And, of course, for the month of September, we played Assault Shell. So, instead of doing our usual setup where we talk about the developer and kind of set up the stuff of the game, I thought we could, since we have the developer with us, maybe we could do something a little bit different and sort of, have some guy here talk about So I would say, how did you get into game development? What was your inspiration for doing that? So let's start there.
Well, I've been a little developer since I was young. Around when I was 3 or 4, real young that time. I used to make board games and get something ideas for games on paper. I would get my little notepad, get some crayons or some coloring pencils. I would just draw ideas and ideas and ideas. And a lot of the games that I concepted or drew up were arcade inspired. And since I play a lot of shmups like Galaga, Raystorm, G-Darius, those good Namco and Taito shmups, my ideas are a lot of shmup based. I remember as a kid making a lot of Raystorm based things, like trying to see if I can create a sequel or try to do something interesting with the Galaga formula, stuff like that. And so when I got older, around when I was 10, I was introduced to the programming language Scratch. It's this really simple, really easy to get into coding language, which you can program just by dragging a few blocks around. And so once I learned a few things about that, I tried making a few shmups of my own. Though since Scratch is quite limited, I wasn't able to make a lot of good things, unfortunately. But it did get myself into game development and into shmup development. And so I kept making shmups. I made shmups like Arc, Gonna Burst, and Striker Wing, which is my last shmup I made on Scratch. So after I made all those games, I was ready to move on up. I was ready to make better games and get a better engine. And luckily, there was that humble bundle for Game Maker 1.4 before Yogo Games discontinued support to focus on Game Maker Studio 2. I nabbed Game Maker Studio 1.4 and I started making games on it. And so, since then, I've been improving my craft, working on games, and now I'm here. Someguy 009, making his own shmups, and the leader of Team Overloaded.
Nice. So I'm curious about Game Maker because I've heard a lot of other shmup developers, indie shmup developers, and just devs in general talking about the Game Maker product. And so, what is it like to develop that in that kind of environment? Is it very graphic oriented, or is there a lot of kind of stuff that you have to code sort of underneath the surface?
I would have to say both. I started out with this drag and drop programming style, where you can drag blocks into the events, and it's really simple to just make simple games. But because drag and drop is so limited, I wasn't able to make the games that I want. So I eventually moved over to doing coding. And so I learned the Game Maker language, otherwise known as GML. And the whole Game Maker workflow is actually quite simple. Since you have sprites, you have all the folders laid out for you, you have sprites, objects, rooms, backgrounds, sounds, text files, all that sort of stuff is actually really easy to navigate. You can go to the files, select all, deselect all. You can create new objects on the fly, new stuff on the fly. You can import stuff from other projects into your project. I always found that useful because now I program something and go like, man, I really like this. And when I work on my next project, I take what I like from the old project, bring it to the new project, and I build up on that. And that kind of eventual bringing that on has really polished my games a lot. So it's really something you can build up to. As with Game Maker Studio 1.4, but Game Maker Studio 2, they've improved on some stuff, but I really wish they kept a lot of stuff that they had in Game Maker 1.4. They got rid of a lot of the sprite editing stuff. Like you can edit how your frames work. You can edit on the fly how long your animation want to be. You can add effects to your sprites and stuff. A little editing magic. But other than that, and another thing that I was bummed out about was the timeline stuff, since it's really watered down in Game Maker 2.0. But other than that, it's actually a pretty good engine, and it actually works quite well, since it has support for PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. And not only that, it's also getting support for PS5 and Xbox Series X. So it's really really your only option since they stopped selling Game Maker 1.4. But it's really good for 2D game development. It can do 3D, like if you've seen Jet Lancer. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Jet Lancer was made in Game Maker Studio, and that game is straight to 3D. Well, not straight, but 3D sort of thing. Sort of. But it uses the Game Maker Studio engine to do that. But it's much easier to make 2D games in Game Maker Studio, so I use mainly for that, since I'm mainly a 2D developer.
Okay. So then, what version of Game Maker Studio did you use to make Assault Shell?
I actually used Game Maker Studio 1.4.
Okay.
Yeah. So a bit of a thing with Assault Shell, since Game Maker Studio 1.4 does not have support anymore. I had trouble pretty much with optimizing the game, since we've heard problems of it not coming up or freezing. I was like, what? This never happened before. I never got reports of this. It's like, Game Maker, stop messing with me. And then there was the problem where it would run at 45 FPS on some people's systems instead of 60 FPS on other people's systems. And I was like, why is it doing this? Game Maker, why? And so it's like, man, it never ends with Game Maker 1.4. 2, I haven't heard any of those problems from, but I haven't really released any games from 2. So here's hoping the games I make with Game Maker Studio 2 are better optimized than 1.4.
Makes sense. So, in terms of Assault Shell's overall design, mechanics, and gameplay loop and so forth, what would you say were primary inspirations for those things?
So, the main games that I derived inspiration from were Dodonpachi Daiojo and Crimson Clover. During that time, I saw people in the Schmutz community hoping for a new cave-like game. And being the person that I am, wanting to give the people what they want, I answered their prayers. And so I started work prototyping Assault Shell in July. I don't remember exactly when I started on it, but I remember it was sometime in 2020. And it's in March of 2020, I remember now. And so I was working on it, and I had the idea to take Crimson Clover's double break mechanic and add an extra layer of it, which is the hyper and blank stand system. And so while I was working on those systems, it started to flourish and become its own thing. And before I was working on Assault Shell, I was working on another shmup called Shift War. I was posting Shift War content on the Overloaded Studios page for a while, but it fell flat, unfortunately. It was a write and like, but it didn't do really anything special. So it was kind of put on soaked under the rug for Assault Shell. So I began working on Assault Shell, and so Assault Shell was born.
Yeah, I definitely picked up upon the Crimson Clover type of elements with the burst and then the double burst and the changing or the chaining of the bullets into those, as people like to call them these days, big juicy cancels or big juicy points.
Oh yeah.
So
big juicy cancels.
So that was greatly appreciated that it took that system in there. obviously noticed the sort of dull system with the different characters in there. Was there anything else that was taken out from DOJ or from Crimson Clover besides the break mechanic and some of the character archetypes?
Well, I would say the endings would somewhat taking inspiration from Diojo, but you have to get there to see.
Sounds good. I definitely need some practice to get in there. I can make it to stage 5 on one credit, just I think the same as Guru. But any further than that right now, I need some practice.
I gotta say, good luck. And you'll definitely see with the ending where I derived inspiration from Diojo. And if you know what Diojo means, then you might know what's coming.
Some sort of blissful death, perhaps?
I'm not saying to get some napkins, but get some just in case. And if you get close to your characters.
Alright. So, I guess let's dig into the gameplay. Because obviously that's going to be the main focus of any shmup, is going to be the gameplay. So, obviously, Assault Shell is a Danmaku style shooter, and as you mentioned, the hyper system is kind of the primary mechanic. So the way I understand the gameplay loop is you shoot down enemies and they drop these blue chips or tokens, and that fills a meter at the bottom of the screen. And once that's full, then you can activate what's known as Hyper Stand, which is like a level 1 hyper. That, at the point of activating Hyper Stand, any bullets that are on screen turn into gold medals that give you score, and then it also changes the color of your primary weapon for most characters and makes your firepower more intense and do more damage. That slowly counts down, and there's sort of a circular indicator around your ship that sort of shows you how much time you have left on that. And then if you fill the bar again while you're in Hyperstand, then you can activate your second level hyper, or blank stand, as you say, similar to Crimson Clover's break and double break. Mm-hmm. Now, blank stand not only increases their weapon damage more, but as you said in the story of the game, it also makes the enemies insane. So their attacks become more difficult, larger bullets, more intense patterns. More stuff that you have to deal with. But, again, when you enter blank stand, just like when you enter hyper stand, any on-screen bullets get converted to medals, and while you're in blank stand, larger enemies that are specific ones will also cancel into large groups of medals. So there's very much a risk-reward aspect to using hyperstand and especially blank stand within the course of the game.
And another thing, while in blank stand, any enemy you kill will instantly turn into gold medals, and any bullets you cancel that aren't screen clears will make the tokens gold, which gives you more score.
Oh yes. The game uses a 4-button system. So you've got your basic shot button, which you can tap to fire your standard weapon, or if you hold that down, you go into focus fire, which gives your character a laser, and then also kind of limits what your options do, but primarily is with the focus. And like with most cave games, your focus fire does slow down your ship movement, generally speaking. You have your special attack or technique, which is generally more of a defensive technique. So each ship has 2 different types of defensive techniques, and those act as a means of canceling bullets and then converting those into those blue tokens that you can use to fill your hypermeter. And those techniques are rechargeable. So there's a meter that sits above your hypermeter that has 2 levels. And so if that's recharged or if it's fully charged, then whatever that technique is, you get the full sort of version of that technique. And then if you only have one bar of the two that is charged, then you get a kind of a smaller or less effective version of that same technique, whether it's a defensive attack, if you will, or a more fully defensive measure.
Yeah. Definitely resource magic comes down to either waiting for your special weapon to charge up for its full effectiveness, or taking that risk of using it constantly to cancel more bullets.
Right.
Since when you cancel bullets using your SP weapon, your special defensive weapon, it will cancel the bullets into the tokens that you said earlier that fills your hypermeter. So you can definitely use your defensive techniques to fill your bar faster. But that comes at a cost of lowering your defenses and making you more vulnerable until it charges up again.
Absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to expound upon is with the focus shot. Some of the games that I've been playing have different speeds where one ship will be faster with its focus shot, but the other won't. And I didn't see that there. Was that something that you had thought about or experimented with?
Oh, with other ships being faster than others?
Yeah, during their focus shot. Let's say this ship doesn't have the homing features, the green ship doesn't have the homing features of the blue ship, where it seeks out enemies, but at the same time it can move a lot faster when it's in focus shot mode.
Yeah, I bounce around the range and potential, how broken it is, since we'll get into that when we get into the character introductions.
Okay.
And then of course you've got the hyper button that will activate the hyper and either put your ship into hyper stand or blank stand mode. Of course, assuming your meter is full. And then,
yes.
One thing that I very much appreciate is the auto fire that you can do. So there is a button that, in like a standard Xbox type of controller layout, you have an auto fire that will allow you to just fire the regular weapon without having to tap the button to do so.
Here's something funny about the auto. It's actually better to use auto than to tap the button, because the way the game's programmed, instead of the options, the option goes into full fire, as in when you tap it, the option only fires when you press the button. So I accidentally didn't add that sort of auto, that mashing stuff for the options.
Huh. So then if someone was using an auto fire controller and wanted to hold down that button to sort of do the burst kind of technique, they really wouldn't give them any more benefit then, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would have to say that with any modern STG, auto fire is a must. I don't think that it's a debate or it's cheating. I think at this point it should be a standard feature.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree too.
I've said it on the podcast before, and I'll continue to say it. I'm middle-aged. I don't want to make my carpal tunnel any worse by having to ram on the fire button consistently just to get shots.
Yeah, we can't all be Takahashi Meijin.
That's right.
I don't want to injure my finger.
Yeah. One thing that I appreciate about the design, number one, the simplicity of the system. It makes sense. It flows. But I also appreciate that you allowed for remapping of the buttons, because I actually changed the default layout. I was using a third-party wired Xbox 360 controller as my go-to. And so I actually put the auto fire on the leftmost button. I can't remember if that's X or Y. And then I put the standard shot button on the A button down at the bottom. And then I put the top button as my defensive technique or my special, and then the right side button as activating my hyper. So I could sort of roll my thumb around, going from my standard shot. I could sort of roll my thumb around to activate the hyper, and then roll it back to sort of go back to my standard shot for while I'm in hyper stand or blank stand, being able to get that more wide-ranging attack. Plus, also because I found the default control scheme for me, when I was trying to activate the hyper, I would a lot of times accidentally also then use my special. So I would burn my special when I didn't want to. And so in order to make it so that I had to specifically move my thumb up to use the special, I wanted to change that so that it would be a little bit more, I don't know, logical flow for how I play.
Definitely. I have to thank Boghog for allowing me to use his remapping system, since he also uses GameMaker 1.4 and GameMaker 2. He gave me the source code for remapping the system, and so not only did I use it, I also allowed it to allow you to remap controls for your PlayStation controllers, your Xbox controllers, and your keyboard.
Very cool. And I love hearing that there's collaboration there between different independent shmup devs, that sharing of these kinds of things to sort of help the community and make these games better. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Even though game dev is a competitive field, we're not really treating it as a competition. We're here to help each other out and make shmups that we also love to make.
Very cool. Addicted, you want to give us an overview of the different ships and characters?
I will do my best here. There are 4 ships or characters to choose from. The first one is Alpha PF-201A, which is the orange pilot, whose name is Vian. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Vian.
Vian, okay. Vian the dragon, with a forward firing shot and forward firing options. Special 1 is a wide intercept shot, and Special 2 is a frontal blocking bullet.
The wide intercept shot, fun thing, if it hits the side of the screen, it actually hones in on enemies above it, since reflecting it off the surfaces is really funky in GameMaker 1.4. And so I just made it easy and have it sort of aim towards enemies. So
interesting.
It could be used to if you're at the end of the screen, it can help you get yourself out of a corner. As for the frontal blocking bullet, it's basically a Hadoken from Ibarra, where you have a line of shields going in front of you. Okay. So you can use that to cover the boss's bullet spawn points and get a lot of items from there.
Interesting. Okay, I where we're going with that.
Do you also want me to give a short character overview of Vian?
Sure.
Vian is the hot-headed character of the bunch. She usually likes to bully whoever she's piloting with, but she usually has a soft side. But if you get her mad, she will and can kill you with her sharp claws. Word of advice: if she gets mad at you, grab a cup of water and splash it all over her. It will instantly cool her down, and plus it will embarrass her too.
Nice.
Alright, the next pilot is Beta, or PF-204B, which is the green pilot, and her name is Alice. She is the maiden with a forward shot with wide shooting options. Special 1 is a burst defensive shot, and Special 2 is a random cancel array.
The Beta is actually the ship that a lot of people use nowadays. And that's because of Beta 2, the Random Cancel Array. Originally, the Random Cancel Array was going to be something similar to Jin's Wing Layer in Chaos Field, where it randomly spews out a bunch of shields on the screen to block bullets. Because of that randomness, it wasn't really good. So I instead changed it to have shields instantly spawn in front of her in random positions, but they all sort of spawn in a line, so it's more consistent that way. And what players do is that they use it on bosses to milk items and score points, because not only do they last for a long while, but it also has a decent range even if you use level 1 special. And so what we like to call, while we were playing a social for a social competition I had in August, what we would call, when we were fighting the stage 2 boss on its final phase, we call it the skill up milk. And what we would do is that we would use Beta 2 special to put the shields over the spawn position of the wheel, the spinning formation we have to go around the tank. We would activate the special, have it milk all the items, and do as much as we can while trying to stay alive. And a lot of the time, the boss would usually time out, but the point differential is really apparent, since you can just milk a lot of those small point items. They really do make a difference. It's not like any big milk, like Grega milking or something like that, but it is a fun milk that we call the skill up milk. It's all a little joke while playing a Soul Shell.
That's cool.
As with Alice derives the name from the maiden for being so sweet and so kind. She's the youngest of the 4 Psycho Maidens, that's what they're called. And so she's extremely nice. The thing is, if you try to swoon her, or try to go a little, try to get into it, try to hit on her, she has a second side where she is a lot more devious per se. And there have been reports of her biting off the necks of people who wouldn't get the sign that she's not interested. So she definitely has that side of her. If you ever trigger that second side, as soon as you notice her pink eyes, you better stop. Stop before you lose your neck.
Alright, so no means no.
No means no.
Alright, our next pilot is Gamma, or PF-202G, the blue pilot, who is also known as Susie, or the Golem. She has a forward shot with homing aimed weapons, and Special 1 is a front defensive option, and Special 2 is a rolling guardian option.
I kind of did Susie dirty in this game, but you'll see what I did to sort of redeem that as you go down the list. But with the special weapons, the downside of them is that, well, the upside is that they last a long time. Not only do they cover a large field, but they also will give supporting fire. So they deal a little bit extra damage when you send them out. But the drawback is that they can be destroyed if they block too much bullets. Meaning that if you use them in a really dense pattern, you just lose all of your defensive options, and it can really screw you up. Unfortunately, it was another dev oversight with the whole with Susie being slow. I made the whole thing of being slow and defensive, The problem is the defense breaks so easily is that she isn't really viable. But someone did manage to get it clear with her. Actually, before Asocial 2.0 was released, Stage Dragon, well-known Japanese super player, he tested Asocial and posted a video on the game, and the character he used was Susie the Golem, and he was able to get a 2-all using Gamma, and I thought, wow, that's really impressive. Good work.
Yeah, Susie was kind of my go-to for the month because I sort of liked that Katsui homing or aimed option thing, and the defensive option I really enjoyed. But yeah, I did feel like obviously there was a trade-off between having a more defensive ship and then having a slower ship. So it felt like a natural sort of compromise there. But yeah, my thing was deploying I used Special 1, the sort of shield deals that come up and fire from the front of the ship. And I felt like you fire those into a large pattern of bullets, you get a whole lot of tokens right away, and you can immediately then activate your hyperstand and clear the field with a bullet cancel and get a lot of medals. And so that was kind of part of the loop that I was in of use or use those to sort of get into either hyper stand, or a lot of times let my gather tokens normally, activate hyper stand, then get into a situation where I get bombarded, use the defensive option, immediately get enough tokens to activate blank stand and clear the field, and then I can sort of work my way through whatever's next. There were times that I tried to use it more in a scoring fashion to gather the golden tokens, but yeah, that was kind of my loop. Use that to get tokens right away so I can get into hyper.
Yeah, it's definitely a rough character to use, but it's added aimed options like you said, and with this focus shot, since every character has a different focus shot, her secondary focus is the homing orbs that you see or shoot out. So it's really helpful because it not only deals damage to enemies, to bigger enemies, but it can also lock on to small enemies from the side that try to snipe you. And Susie's character, her whole deal is that she's blind. She has scars over her face, and the thing is, she's quiet. She doesn't really speak much, but she's also strict during the missions. She usually commands her pilot to push themselves even further, to have them complete the mission. But she's also a big scaredy cat. And that proves a problem, since not only is she blind, but she also is a walking monk, and can literally punch holes through whoever scares her. She is quite powerful for being a quiet scaredy cat.
Yeah, the scaredy cat part was funny in I think it's stage 4, at the end of stage 4, if I remember correctly, where you can pick the option to, there's a spider. Like, where? Where's the spider?
Yeah. Please don't do that again. Yeah. Just that little bit of character helps.
Alright, our next pilot is Delta, or PF-203D, which is a white/gray ship, and the pilot of that ship is it pronounced Etia?
Etia.
Etia. Oh, thank you. Also known as the Knight, with a forward shot. Options follow, similar to Gradius. Options: lock in place and fire a short-range shot while in focus. Special 1 is a high-energy sword, and Special 2 is a counter matrix shield, which has some directional control.
The Delta ship is quite special since originally in 1.0, the options didn't do anything when you used focus, but I made it so that once you use focus, the options actually shoot and they lock in place instead of not doing anything when you hold down focus. So it's that little neat thing. And the funny thing is that one of the people from the Elixir Shmups Discord found out is that when you're holding down focus and you hold up at the top of the screen, the options will continue to go up. And when you go back down, the options are way in front of you. And so he used it to basically deal damage to enemies in front of him while not having to go up close. So he kind of cheated the point blank system, which is funny and I am absolutely all for.
So basically park the options out there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. It reminds me of that one ship, I can't remember the name of it, but the one ship in Jamestown Plus where when you activate the focus, it sort of drops a thing in place, and then you can move around the screen while it kind of does its thing. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was a bug that I decided to keep because it was so interesting to see people use it. As for special weapons, the same person who told me about the bug also recommended me when I was making changes to a Sword Shield 2.0 was to make the sword a combo sort of thing. So instead of having a stronger slash when you use the high energy sword, at level 1 you get the singular slash, but it's still at full size. But if you use the level 2 special weapon, you go into a 3-slash combo. So you slash from your left, you slash from your right, and you slash from the front. So it gives that sort of cool 1, 2, 3 feel to it. The weapon is also the most damaging of the special weapons too.
I'm going to go back and try some more of these ships with these strategies on here, because I had been primarily playing with the Golem as well. The playing as the white-gray ship or even the green ship with its ability to stack shields sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean... I was just going to say the Delta ship seems like it might have a higher skill ceiling, but you could definitely use that to your advantage and either score maybe a little bit better, or if you do it right, also potentially increase your chances for survival.
Yeah, Delta definitely has a quick kill potential since she has the highest damage output of any of the ships, but it has a low strength. But it has low range, so you gotta take that risk and go up there. And something special with its Special 2, the Counter Matrix Shield, it has the swinging mechanic so similar to Agato Blue, where you can choose the direction to draw your shield. And when you draw your shield, it converts any bullets, it reflects any bullets that it touches back in the direction. And so potentially, if you position it right, you can send the shield out, and when it reaches apex, it covers the boss's bullet spawn position, and all those bullets it shoots will go straight back at it, dealing a lot more damage. So you can just tear through bosses if you use it right.
I was not aware of that with the Counter Matrix Shield. I must not have played enough or didn't notice that while I was using Delta.
the bullets go quite fast, so it's alright if you miss a little detail. And so the character Etia, she is the mysterious one of the bunch, being the second oldest. Yeah, no, second youngest. I mean, being the second youngest of the three, she doesn't really speak much to the others, or speak much to anyone at that. And she usually hides from anyone that appears with her. She does get along with Alice since they're created around the same age. But with Etia, she has a dark side to her, where she gets too excited when she goes on missions. And that in ritual training, there have been reports of her getting so excited that she snaps the neck of the pilot she's piloting with. So she can be really, really ecstatic. Not to mention the giant sword that she's carrying around with her. It can deal a lot of damage if she becomes uncontrollable. Candy helps her calm down, but when push comes to shove, they just go full on horse tranquilizers and tranquilize her down.
Yikes.
Yeah, she's easily the most dangerous of the bunch.
And that's a lot of horse tranquilizer.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so our last ship is the Sigma PF-205SX, which is red. Now, is the pilot Susie in this?
Yeah, it's in the arrange mode void stand. I see we will talk about that later, but yeah, she appears in the arrange mode of Assault Shell. And the deal is that we actually decided who would be the co-pilot of the Sigma ship was that I put it on a Twitter poll. And disguised it as, who's your favorite character? Vian, Alice, Susie, or Etia? And people voted Susie. And so with that, I made Susie the Ender Psycho Maiden, which is essentially the best ship for that mode. The special secret ship.
Got it. Okay. And it looks like the ship has a forward shot, options that swing back and forth based upon the direction of the direction or movement of the ship. Special 1 is the extreme temperature flamethrower, and Special 2 is the offensive lancer.
Yeah, Special 1 is really good for defensive, since not only the flamethrower goes in front of you, it also swings with you, so you can just sweep a lot of bullets that's coming at you. And it lasts for a good while too. The offensive lancer, I see a lot of people use that with Sigma, since it drills through enemies, and the bigger the enemy, the longer it takes to drill through. And its level 2 power is outstanding. You can just drill through the enemy, since it's a bigger drill. It's a big drill.
Yeah, the thing that I found about the offensive lancer is it does really good damage, but unless I had absolutely a screen full of bullets, since you need to cancel bullets with your special in order to get to void stand while you're in blank stand, I felt like it wasn't as effective for canceling bullets unless you're in very specific situations in order to get those gold tokens to fill the meter and get into void stand before your blank stand runs out.
It requires a lot of precision. It requires a lot of that placement, making the best of that line, and making sure you don't miss entirely, since it only slows down when it hits the enemy.
Right, yeah, it seems very situational.
As for the character, Susie, in her character art, you can actually see that she is not blind anymore. Is that she actually has her eyes not covered up. her bandages are black instead of beige, and her entire suit is now red with the Sigma insignia on her chest instead of the Gamma one. And Sigma Susie, as we call her, is a whole nother beast compared to normal Susie, and she pressures the pilots a lot more harder and harder and harder, and she really expects them to actually use their sweat and blood to work hard to make themselves the ultimate weapon, essentially. And you'll see if you ever get to the ending of Sigma that you'll get a surprise when you reach the ending. So if you manage that, enjoy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, am I right in thinking that the Sigma ship is actually the TLB?
You're correct.
Okay. So then...
Instead, this Sigma ship is not a prototype. This Sigma ship is the real deal.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool. So just briefly, the game has 4 modes. There's original single, which is sort of the normal difficulty, but a single loop with 5 stages, and from what I understand, you can reach the TLB in original single if you do it in 1 credit.
Yes.
I credit fed through the game a couple of times just to try and get to and through the final, or the stage 5 boss. And I will say, you do get a bad ending if you do that. So just be aware, if you credit feed, don't expect a good ending. Then original full is kind of the same thing, normal difficulty, but it's 2 loops. And of course, your ability to reach the TLB, one assumes, on a single credit again.
Yes.
And I never actually managed to get to the second loop, but I do know from watching you stream the game a while back that the second loop does have revenge bullets.
It does have revenge bullets.
Are the bullet patterns larger or harder or faster or anything like that? Or are they...
Yeah. Yes, not only are the bosses bullet patterns faster, they also get a bit harder on the second loop.
Okay, so then obviously going full blank stand in the second loop is even greater a risk than before.
And even greater reward, because more bullets means more points.
Absolutely. Okay. There's light mode, which is listed in the menu as an easier version of the game. Now, the thing that I thought it was interesting is that I didn't feel like there was any difference in the difficulty necessarily between original single and light mode, but light mode, I noticed that your hypermeter charges a lot faster, so you can do hyperstand and blank stand in a lot more quick succession than you can in the normal mode. So it feels like the cadence of that is just a lot higher.
Yes, you can hyper more and cancel more. And another thing is that, not only that, I believe your special weapon charges faster. You can use a special weapon more often.
Yeah.
And your... excuse me. The shield actually... your character's shield actually charges faster. Your lives actually recovers when you're missing one. A lot faster than an original.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's something I don't know that we've touched on yet, is that instead of a traditional lives system like you would have in a lot of games, the game has a shield system where you start with essentially 2 shield hits, and then after your second shield hit, basically it goes into shield critical, where then the next hit that you take will destroy your ship. But then your shield recharges over time, and then there are ways through score and so forth to gain additional shield segments, if you will, up to the maximum that I found was 5.
Yes, the maximum is 5.
And is that Is the maximum still 5 in the second loop? Okay.
Yes.
And then, of course, the last mode is the Void Arrange, which basically takes the standard game, from what I understand, and then adds a third level of the Hyper, which is called Void Stand. And the thing with Void Stand is, like with your blank stand, you get the gold medals, so your bullet cancel at the time of the Hyper cancels bullets, you get gold medals, and then each enemy that you destroy gives you a gold medal or multiple gold medals if they're larger. Well, in Void Stand, you get all of that, plus you sort of get this interesting reverse negative effect with the screen. Bullets become this weird sort of shadowy red thing, a red pattern, and your shots become this intense purple color, and it becomes insane the amount of fire your ship projects. But you get platinum medals for doing that, so of course those are going to be worth even more than the gold medals.
Yeah, they are worth a lot more.
And the thing that I noticed about that mode is with Hyperstand and getting into Blank Stand, you can go from Hyperstand to Blank Stand if you're collecting enough tokens, and you can then activate Blank Stand before the timer runs out. But I found the only way to activate Void Stand is once you're in Blank Stand, you have to use your defensive technique to milk the gold tokens in order to charge the meter. Because once you're in Blank Stand, everything is gold medals, and you don't get any more tokens.
Well, the thing is, the gold medals actually do charge your Void Stand meter too. It just takes a lot longer than compared to using the gold tokens. So if you get a good cancel on Blank Stand, you have the chance of getting Void Stand out of that cancel.
Oh, interesting. Okay, see that I didn't realize. So there is a kind of way to go in and get Void Stand activated without having to use your special.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Another few things about Void Range. The game has Void Range has, but the other modes don't. The mode has rank, and rank only increases when you use Blank Stand and Void Stand. Blank Stand charges it slowly, but Void Stand charges it much faster. And so the little bar at the bottom will show you how much rank you've accumulated in stage. But when it's blue, rank is still normal. It's still Loop 1 difficulty. So there's nothing much to worry about there. But when the bar turns yellow, enemies start spraying out revenge bullets. These revenge bullets are different from Loop 2 revenge bullets, but they still spew out when you destroy them. And when you reach red difficulty, red rank, then the game starts getting hard. Not only do you get the revenge bullets from yellow rank, but you also go into Loop 2 mode, where the patterns are from Loop 2, and the enemies will also spew out revenge bullets from Loop 2.
Wow. So Void Range seems like to me it's the sort of mode that you would tackle once you've become very proficient in the game and maybe have gotten a clear.
Yeah, it's the scoring mode of the game.
Yeah, because Void Range kicked my butt 10 ways to Sunday when I played it.
Oh yeah, and a few more things. You have to power up your ship while in Void Range. There are item carriers that you can shoot down to get items.
Yeah, I noticed that. And what's the maximum level that you can reach? The maximum power level?
With shot, your maximum power level is 5, but with focus, your power level is 3.
Okay.
So, and when you die, you only lose 1 level of each. So recovery is pretty easy.
Interesting.
And then one more small thing about rank is that the higher the rank, the faster bullets get. So you have to be wary of that. The higher the rank, the movements that you usually do won't work the second time because the bullets are faster than the last time.
Cool.
Alright, I'd like to talk about the graphics. The graphics have a very unique style I haven't seen before. It almost looks like it's a very comic book inspired. What was your inspiration for the graphics in Assault Shell?
Well, it's not really an inspiration, but it was sort of a developer limitation. Since back when I was working on Assault Shell, I was only an amateur at making pixel art. I wasn't really the best at it, so the backgrounds that you see are actually look kind of flat to them. They don't have that real sense of depth that you see in other games. But I kind of went with it. I went with the whole style of having it be my own way. And so, but the reason being is that I made the game workspace too large. Since the resolution is 480 by 640, not 240 by 320. And so I made the game 2 times larger than what usually other games have their sizes be. And so that's why the whole game looks flat, because making all those sprites is hard, and having all of the big stuff, making big sprites is difficult. But I have improved in my pixel art skills. I intend to improve further so that my games will look better, so that the developer art won't look like something from Microsoft Paint. Not saying that Microsoft Paint isn't wrong. I do like the aesthetics of some games that have that kind of style.
So it was a learning progress, and it's something that you, if you had a chance to go back, you would change, or is it something you look?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I ever go back to it, maybe if I ever remade the game or re-envision it, I would definitely change the graphics a lot. There was a lot I could change if I had the chance to remake the game.
You could always do Assault Shell Remastered.
I'll make sure to do it on Game Maker Studio too.
Because I looked on Steam and looked at the reviews, and a lot of the reviews said mention the graphics as the point. It says don't let the graphics dissuade you from buying this. This game is good. You just need don't judge a book by its cover. And I was curious if that was a choice that you had made, or if that was a learning process. And as you just explained, it was definitely something that was a learning process. It's certainly better than the stuff I can draw and paint.
Yeah, definitely.
I
mean, not to dunk on your paint stuff, but yeah,
it's okay.
It is definitely a learning process.
No, the one thing that I will say I was pleasantly surprised of is none of the colors blended together. A lot of Danmaku games, you get that one bullet or that one enemy who shoots a bullet that you just figure, where did this thing hit me from? There wasn't any of that blending that happened in Assault Shell. There wasn't any guesswork as to where the stuff was coming from and what I could and could not touch.
Yeah. I practiced while I was doing Assault Shell. I was practicing bullet color theory within the shmup itself, and so I kind of made the backgrounds desaturated a bit. Since you're above the ground, I desaturated them to let the bullets stand out more, and I didn't have the. I made the bullets all purplish and have the sort of small glow to it. With that being, with them being able to be easily recognizable. glowing purple, ooh, that's bad. I need to avoid that. And so that's why I made the bullets red and voidal range, because your shot becomes purple. And so now you see the red bullets, and they go straight at your face like, oh goodness, I need to avoid those ASAP.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Again, it was nice not to have a pink bullets situation.
Or a riding bullet situation.
Yes. I would also have to say that I did appreciate the parallax effects in there. I thought that was done nicely in some of the stages. I was interested to see if maybe, and maybe I'm missing stuff, or getting confused. But I think yours, when it goes under the focus shot, you also get a hitbox notification, correct?
You do. It's pretty small, but it's there.
It's that small stuff that is really appreciated. The last thing you want to do is, is this hitbox my ship? Where am I looking at? And you need to walk a fine line between, pixels dot and Oda media is huge. It's nice and refreshing to at least know what was going to hit me and what wasn't. I really appreciate that feature.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask about. Is I know in a lot of the cave shmups and so similar games, you have a lot of situations where bullets are not entirely hurt box, and so you kind of have where the outside of a bullet might be safe to pass through your hitbox, whereas then the inner portion is what actually hurts you. I got the sense that the bullets in Assault Shell are pretty much all hitbox. Am I reading that correctly, or is it different?
It is not all hitbox. Each bullet has their individual hitboxes and stuff. And so the hitbox is usually smaller than what the bullet display, especially with the larger one. You can your hitbox can be inside the bullet, but as long as it's not hitting the meat of the large bullet, you'll be fine.
Okay, so that's probably just me misreading that somewhat while I'm playing. So let's move on and talk about the sound. First thing I have to say, Hot Jams, is the soundtrack by A2B is quite good. Stage 2 is my jam. This seems to be a theme in a lot of shoot 'em ups where Stage 2 is the music that I kind of gravitate towards. This game, Kitsui, Blazing Lasers, all sorts of games where Stage 2 seems to be the music that I latch onto.
The music that you jam to, yeah.
But, so, hats off to A2B for the soundtrack.
Can I just say that I am so happy to meet an artist like A2B. He's been extremely generous to work with me on my games, and he's such a chill person to work with. Not only that, but he's also a helpful person in the arcade community and in the shmups community too. He's always there to help a lending hand, and is really been helpful in testing my games too. Since I send them builds of my game from the test, since I like having people I work with give their opinions as well. So make it that it's our game instead of my game.
Very cool.
So I just want to shout out to A2B for being an overall great guy.
Absolutely. And I will say, the soundtrack is available on SoundCloud. Check it out.
Yes, it is. A2B still needs to upload the music to YouTube though, but he'll do it on his own time.
Now I wanted to ask you about some of the sound effects, because I'm wondering if some of what you've used is stuff that is available in Game Maker, or have you done any work to sort of make your own bespoke sound effects?
I made all the sound effects. I made them all through an application called BFXR. It makes these sort of old school-ish sound effects that I use for my games. But the special thing is that I actually mix them and edit them using Audacity. And so I make them a bit more high quality, or make them less bit crushy sometimes while using Audacity.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the sound design is pretty solid and fits the game and the overall sort of look and feel.
Yeah, it's something that it's a good app to use if you want to make your own sound effects, and if you're not a sound effects genie like the other people are.
Right. So could you give us a little primer on scoring?
So yeah, the thing with the scoring system is not only is it tied to the stand system, your hypers, but it's also connected to your multiplier. You have a base multiplier on the top of your screen that goes from 1 and doubles itself every time the bar fills up. It goes from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, 32, then 60, then all the way up to 64. The special thing is, when you activate Hyperstand, the multiplier will double at whatever number it's at. So that means the maximum will go up to 128 times 128, giving you more score from items. And Blink Stand increases it even further, meaning that the maximum will go up to 256. It increases fourfold. So having max multiplier while being a Blink Stand is the high score strat while playing Assault Shell. So being in Blink Stand as much as possible, using your special weapons to cancel bullets into gold items, and surviving getting cancels is all important while playing for score.
Okay. I was also going to ask, I didn't pay attention with the Void Stand piece because I was too busy trying to not die, but I'm wondering, in the Avoid Arrange mode, does Void Stand then double that again, or how does that work?
Yes. The third hyper Void Stand made the multiplier go extremely high, meaning that it increases it 8-fold and makes the maximum go up to times 512. So you get those big points.
And what is it that increases your multiplier? Is it just successive enemy kills, or is there more to it than that?
Successive enemy kills and canceling bullets for your special weapon. We advise that when you activate hypers, the transition from hyper to hyper, the multiplier will freeze. So you can use that time to build that hyper back up before it goes away and resets back to 1.
Okay, interesting. See, I don't know that I picked up on that during the course of the month, so that really means that using the hyper and, staying in hyper and going from sort of one hyper to the next and so forth, there's a real tension there in being able to quickly get back into hyper.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
So, there are also scoring tricks with defeating bosses. The quicker you kill the boss, the more score you get from it. Score is based on how much time you have after killing the boss, as well as the stage that you're on. So the bonus will go up to 1,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and so forth.
Okay, so bosses time out, in other words.
If bosses time out, I didn't really program it to give you 0 score. So instead, it takes away score if you time it out. It's little, so it's not really significant. But it really is that kind of slight punishment you get.
Sure. So a little slap on the wrist saying, "Don't time out the boss."
Yeah. But another important thing with killing bosses fast is that the faster you kill a boss, the more charge you get from that boss. So you see below the score bonus, it says shield charge number. It can go from, every time you kill a boss, you can attain from 10 to 40 shield energy.
Okay.
And so if you kill a boss fast, you can essentially recover a shield like that.
So another risk-reward mechanic at play.
Yes. Every 100 shield energy gives you 1 shield. And it's displayed like it's 100. So 200 at usual is 2 shields. 150 is 1 shield and 50 shield charge. Something like that.
Okay. I did notice that there is a no-miss bonus. I managed to get that in the first stage a couple of times. Of what, 200,000?
It's shit. I think it's.
Oh, is it?
Million,
okay,
actually.
I miscounted then. So then, is that standard from stage to stage, or does that increase as you get in later stages?
It increases the more times you no miss. So if you no miss 1 stage, you get 2 million. If you no miss 2 stages, you get 4 million, and it goes up and up and up, and up and up and up.
Okay, so
until you get 10 million from no missing.
Wow. So it's kind of like, so that's another thing that is similar to Crimson Clover.
Yes. And someone actually no missed the entire game, but they did do it on light mode. So it was kind of easier for them to make it through the game. But they were able to do it, and they were able to get the achievement for it, I believe, too. So, good for them.
Oh, very cool.
They proved that it is possible to no miss the game and get that last achievement.
Are there any other scoring strategies or tips that players who want to dig into the game should look for?
Well, of course, there's the skill up milk with the stage 2 boss. You can always just milk the skill items from the final boss, the boss's final pattern. That's always fun to do, although frustrating when you lose all your shield to it. But other than that, that should be all the bread and butter you need to know. Usually a general strategy is to let as many bullets come on screen as possible, then when you have the right time, you can cancel them all. Stage 3 is really good for canceling bullets into metals when you're in blank stand, since there are 2 enemies that cancels all bullets on the screen.
Oh, right.
Oh, and another secret. Did you ever find out how to get the secret stage extend in stage 3?
I did, yeah. I came across that one organically, and I thought that was a nice potential nod to some of the cave games. I was thinking like Katsui Stage 3, where if you pick apart the large ship, in the right order or what have you, and then destroy the center portion, then you get the 1-up. I thought maybe it was kind of a little bit of a nod to that, where you basically take out all the smaller turrets or what have you, guns, and then attack the large green core. If you take out all the little cannons first, then attack the green core, then when you take it out, you get that little symbol that looks like the assault shell insignia.
Yes, the Joker symbol.
Yeah, I actually found that, I want to say it was either my first or second time I got to stage 3 and reached that point. I just sort of did it by accident, and then the next time I did it, I realized, oh, this is actually a repeatable thing.
An actual extend. It's there for both loops too.
Cool.
So you can get it from both loops.
Does that give score? That little item?
No, it just gives you an extend.
Gotcha. Okay.
Speaking of extends, with original mode, your first extend is at 175 million. And then for every 400 million, you get another extend.
Yeah, I managed to get to a full, 5 shield hits by getting both of the point extends and getting the stage 3 extend. So that was cool to be able to fully max that out.
I believe extends in light mode is easier to obtain too. And in void or range, if you extend is 1 billion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can get a lot of extends. And good thing I maxed it at 5, because that made the game
Right.
easy. But yeah, that's pretty much the bread and butter. You said earlier that you wanted to know a bit about the story of the game, so if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the whole story is Amber Black, a military faction based in the Asian continent, has their influence all across the southern hemisphere as we begin taking over other private military companies, or PMCs, and factions. However, the rival Joker won't stand for this. After a gap in their junkie defensive system broke down due to the enemy Black operation, Joker begins their mission to take down Amber Black once and for all. That's why you, Joker Unit number 233487, have to go and destroy Amber Black's ambition. So it's a whole battle between the military companies.
Almost sounds a little similar to Kitsui, right?
Yeah, it's similar in that sense. The whole world setting is that the world, after having this large coup d'etat conspired by a bunch of governments all around the world, decide to break down the military structures of the majority of the continents and governments, and instead have them break down into independent factions that fight on order. The problem is that the factions have more power than the governments in that sense, since they have the weapons the governments don't. And so it turns into this whole apocalyptic chaos sort of setting. And it would become the faction era, the darkest times in this version of Earth history.
Okay. So it gives me a little bit of a Area 88 or sort of UN Squadron vibe as well.
Yeah, it's like all these factions trying to rise to power. Amber Black and Joker are also one of those factions. And as you'll see when you unlock the lore logs, you'll see what happens after the events of the game. Since you are technically not the good guys. You're the protagonist, but you're not good guys. And neither are Amber Black, so you're just doing a good job.
When I was reading through the character bios, I kind of got that sense that you're not necessarily the good guys.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing to mention too is that the version of Earth that these events play in is not like the copy-paste the normal version of Earth. It's actually a different take on the world. It still has the 7 continents, with extra continents added in, due to some lore back before the whole social thing happened, that I'm going to get to soon, don't worry about it. But
cool.
Instead of Earth, they call it AO. EAO, standing for Earth Neo. And so because of that, the time is set in 212 new era, since it's a new era in the world that you're in.
Okay, that makes sense.
Something I would compare it to is Strange Reel from the Ace Combat series. That's one of the main inspirations from it. For AO is Strange Reel.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of lore for you. I'm not gonna get all into it. The low logs are there for a reason. But that's just to give some background as to why you are shooting things down, why you do this sort of stuff, what kind of world you're doing this in.
Okay.
And I hope to expand in this world in the later games that I'm working on too, so. And I've planned as well, so please look forward to those.
Yeah, it sounds like a setting that could definitely have different things. It's sort of like the Metal Gear series, how there's the different types of stories that could be told within that type of area with the different PMCs or private military companies battling it out for supremacy. There could be a lot of stories told about humanity and the cost of war. Yeah. Which is very similar to what Area 88 does, but it certainly gives you a good background to play with.
Very cool.
So, now that we have given an overview and some backstory on the game, we thought we'd move on to thoughts from the RF Generation community. Our first thought comes to us from Corkman. I'm starting to get the hang of this game. It's been a while since I played a Danmaku game, and I have to shake the rust off. Also, I don't have a lot of experience with using hypers in shmups, so that will be a learning experience. I'll be playing for survival for the first few weeks here, but I'll get into playing for score a little bit later. The blank stand mode, or red mode, I understand it, in this game seems interesting, but I'll save those tougher bullet patterns for later once I get a better handle on the game. Been trying out all the ships. The variety in them is really nice and allows for different gameplay types. I like the blue Ketsui ship the best so far. Those defensive shields or sub-weapons she has are very useful since they seem to stay on the screen and absorb bullets faster than any other sub-weapons. The red ship is nice and fast, but I'm not sure how useful speed is in this micro-dodging heavy game. The green ship has a nice wide shot and might be my next favorite ship. The gray ship has a lot more potential for aggressive play. You can position your trailing buddies or options high on the screen and hold them there to decimate enemies. Anyways, having a lot of fun with this one. Later on he says, I'm getting much better at the hang of this game now. I think I knocked the Danmaku rust off and playing better now. Still just playing for survival. I noticed the blank stand cancels bullets as well. I've been using that in extremely dire situations where I need to cancel bullets or take a shield hit if it's available. It seems if you get past the stage 3 mid-boss, you almost get 2 shield extends since 175k is around that same time, at least in my runs. Then once you have those, you can go quite a bit further in the game. I've been using blank stand more often the last round of runs and got a 463,000 score. Blank stand patterns are harder, but not unmanageable. I'll probably get even more into blank stand for the rest of the month.
Yeah, and Corkman did correct himself later on Discord and said he meant to say 175 million and 463 million. Reticulon said, I'm currently hitting a wall against the stage 2 boss. Maybe I'm going at it too aggressively? In any case, one thing I am enjoying about this game in the early days of playing it is that it sucked me right into playing for score with the 2-stage hyper mechanic. Normally I am a survival player, but in this one I am always towing the line with how much double hyper I can get away with to boost my power and score despite the increase in difficulty. And then immediately said, just made the above post, went back to the game, flailed around with the D shell, went back to my favorite B shell, passed stage 2 boss, and got a new personal best.
Nice.
Yeah. So just a brief look at the high scores here, and I think everyone was playing on either original single or, the original 2-loop mode. Cork pulled it out this month with a pretty big score victory and managed 634,368,400 points. I ended up with the second place score just shy of the 600 million mark. I got 593,398,600 points. And then Reticulon had 135,303,050 points. One thing I noticed that I appreciated about the scoring is that you did the thing where when you continue, your score continues, but then you get that last digit that increments by 1 to show how many credits you've used.
Yes, the digit of shame.
The digit of shame. I like that. We're going to have to use that in the future. But yeah, I would have to say, yeah, I kind of got addicted to scoring a little bit too as the month went further on and I got more comfortable using the blank stand. So I can definitely see what Reticulon is saying there, that you kind of get sucked into the scoring because it's similar to the break and double break in Crimson Clover, where you want to be in hyper as much as you can. Something that Addicted, you always say in the podcast, the sort of always be breaking kind of thing. Yeah, ABB. It is, this game kind of has a similar rhythm to it in that you want to be in hyper as much as you can for multiple reasons. Number one, you're canceling bullets when you start your hyper. Number two, your weapons are stronger and you're covering more ground, so you're able to take out enemies faster, and three, you're scoring better, so you're just getting that much further along and able to then hit that next extend goal a lot faster. And so it really is, it really all kind of plays into together to sort of work together in that sense. So that leads us into final thoughts. I'm going to say right off the bat, I hate the Stage 1 boss with the power of 1,000 suns. I hate it with a fiery passion. The Stage 1 boss needs to die in a fire slowly and suffer greatly.
Don't worry, if I ever remake a Sword Shell, I'll make it hard.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, the Stage 1 boss, for whatever reason, I have trouble reading a couple of its patterns. And I don't know if it's because of the graphical style of the game or just my own hang-up, but I have more trouble with the Stage 1 boss than anything else up to the Stage 5 boss. But some of that might be my own problem because I stuck with Susie and the slower Gamma ship. So it was harder to sort of macro around the stuff that I had trouble with. That notwithstanding, that issue, my problems with the Stage 1 boss notwithstanding, I gotta say that I enjoyed this game quite a bit. I was initially enjoying it, other than the Stage 1 boss, but I was surprised at how much of a rhythm I could find with the game early on, and just how refined it already felt to me in comparison to some other shoot 'em ups that I've played. And so I gotta say, I'm impressed. And frankly, I'm a little jealous because when I originally went to college, I went in with the intent of learning computer programming, and I wanted to get in and write software and eventually make my own games. And that was my thing. I wanted to try and big dreams of a young adult, become a hotshot game programmer kind of a thing. And that never materialized. I went to college, and I tell this story sometimes, but, I went into my computer programming, my computer science 101 course, and they had a 400 level instructor teaching a 100 level course. And the guy was brilliant. But within the first week, they were trying to teach us the syntax, or have us learn the syntax of C++. And within
C++.
And within 2 weeks of being in class, we had to start writing initial code snippets and things. And so we were trying to calculate mathematical equations that I didn't understand in a programming language that I didn't know. And so the deck was stacked against me in that sense. And I was not prepared for what I was getting into. And so I kind of floundered that whole freshman year. And it pretty much killed my dream of getting into that level and sort of becoming a game programmer. So it's cool to see now that that the tools and the things that are available for aspiring devs are so much more robust than what was available, when I was closer to your age and wanting to get into this myself. You don't have to do everything by hand anymore. But even with that, you kind of said that you've used a combination of the drag and drop within GameMaker and then also getting into kind of what's under the hood and writing code as well. So I gotta say, your ability at this point to sort of glean design concepts from different shooters and incorporate them in your own way and sort of put your own spin or twist on it, it's impressive. And Assault Shell, despite what you've said about, there's plenty of things that you would go back and change or do different with it, I think it's a pretty strong showing as kind of an initial release. I know you've done a few games before this, but this is your first game on Steam, right?
Yes.
Yeah. As an initial release on Steam,
as my debut.
Yeah, I think it's an impressive start, and I think if you continue to grow as an artist and as a dev, the way that I've kind of watched you grow over the last couple of years, just sort of keeping tabs on what you're doing on Twitter and watching the development of your games and your art and all of that, I think you've got a bright future ahead of you. And I have really enjoyed my time with the game this month. Again, Stage 1 boss notwithstanding. Stage 1 boss being a problem for me is almost at meme level for the month now, but no, really, I'm impressed by what you've managed to do, and especially what you managed to do largely by yourself, with, of course, the help of someone to do the soundtrack for you, and with feedback that you get from people testing the game. But realistically, what you managed to do over the scope of a few months to the point where the game initially released, and then over the last year to get to the 2.0, hats off, because I certainly don't know that I would have the ability to, even if I had all the ability to code stuff and design and everything, I don't know that I would have the ability to sort of put together a game that feels as well put together as this does.
Well, here's what I have to say to you, Game Boy Guru. It's never too late. There's people out there that are making games in their 50s and 60s, and they keep doing it whether or not they make good games or not. It's all about that journey, which is kind of ironic since I'm young and I have the problems of the journey myself. It's kind of slow for me, and I wish it was faster. But definitely, people out there, even in their middle age, are still making things, making art, making stuff. So I would say it's never too late. One of my mutuals, Octane, is actually making a game himself, and it's not actually like, it doesn't look exactly the best. I know, and we all know that. But it's still fun to look at. And it's still interesting to see him work on it and talk about it and brag about all the fun things that he does with the game too. So I would say it's never too late.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
As for me sort of signing off, I would have to say that I'm very glad to be able to join the interview. I'm going to be able to be on the Shoot the Core cast for September. I'm really grateful for all the support that I've gotten from the Shmups community and all of the other communities that I've been into. I've saying that I've got a little following behind me. I'm going to do my best to make games that they'll continue to enjoy, make games that I'll be continuing to enjoy making. I'm not going to make sure that I won't burn myself out during the process, because I cut it close sometimes. Everybody knows that. But yeah, finally I would like to say that I hope everyone will look forward to the sequel of So Chill, Heavy Chill, which I released this August. The sequel that will feature new mechanics, new stuff, and the continuation of the story. Everyone looks forward to that game, as well as our current game in progress, the run again that I'm working on, Gun Angel. So, please look forward to those games as I'm continuing working out with them. Yeah. Again, thank you Game Boy Guru and the RF Generations forum for having me here and having my game be the Shoot Corecast Game of the Month. I'm really happy that I've gotten this far, and there's nowhere else to go but up. So, that's where I'm going to go. Shmups will never die, and I'll see to it that it'll flourish.
Very cool. What about you, Addicted? Do you have any kind of final thoughts on the game?
I have to say it took longer for me to warm up to the game than else. I think it's because of the way that I approach shmups. I mentioned before the food metaphor, and I think this has made me realize how much I approach shmups with my eyes. And it was sort of like, is this going to be good? Is this something I can enjoy? And then once I actually played the game, any qualms I had about looking at the graphics or the way that the graphical style was done just sort of went to the wayside. It was initial hesitancy on my part about giving the game a try, because I would have to say I was so used to just being blown away with the polish of the other stuff. No, I don't mean this as a knock against anything that was on there. It made me realize how maybe hesitant I was to try new stuff because it didn't look like some of the other stuff that I liked. And that is something that I realize I need to change. Once it's sort of like looking at someone hands you a burrito and you're looking, I wonder what's in there. You bite into it, like, man, this really has everything I love. You've got your meat, you've got your sauce on here, you got your sour cream, it's got the rice. It's just all the flavors really work well together. And this was a genuine surprise for me. I was really impressed by it and the soundtrack. For everything that's in there, it certainly doesn't feel, as Game Boy Guru has pointed out, like a freshman effort. And I think that's because you already have some other games under your belt. I am looking forward to what is produced in the future, as well as updates to this. If there's going to be another update for Assault Shell, may I suggest a quick restart? Because we definitely need that in all games. I've hated having to go back to a menu and then starting the game over again. That's just one of those quality of life features that I think should be in every shmup. But I found the more and more that I dug into the game, the more and more I liked it. It was getting past that initial hurdle for me, and I would certainly recommend people who do have problems or think, this doesn't look like something I would try. Give it a try, because I think you'll be surprised.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that. I don't consider updating a game with a quick restart function. I've been sitting on a version 2.4, but haven't really done anything with it yet, so if I have time, I'll be able to add more quality of life stuff and be sure to get it up there when I can.
Yeah, or add it to your next game. I mean, it's definitely something that as I said, I see missing a lot of games. I think that what we generally jokingly refer to as the M2 treatment are just really quick quality of life stuff, like having a couple different save slots where you can choose and replay different sections on there, a quick restart, and stuff like that really goes a long way to help the player master the game.
Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome, and it was great to have you on and get some behind the scenes experience, because it's it's sort of like the penny arcade effect. I'm familiar with the penny arcade webcomic. It's easier to sit here and play a game and criticize it and talk about things, but it's a lot different when you're the one who's actually making it or learning about how it's made. It adds in a totally different perspective, and one that I think is definitely needed.
Very cool. So, what do we have coming up next?
A very short playthrough. I mean, Shiki's a pretty short game, but it's still a fun game.
Yeah, so Shikando Soul Eater is our October game, and as I noted in the outline here, it's on everything. It is on PS4, Switch, Xbox One, PC, and of course backwards compatible on PS5 and Xbox Series. It's also on both mobile platforms, so it's very accessible. And I don't know if it'll still be on sale by the time this recording gets out, but right now it's on sale on the Switch for a little over $4. So definitely one to get in on. And then our November game, we're going to be... this is kind of the thing where we sort of try to limit ourselves to one game every year that is ridiculously expensive.
This is a GoFundMe game.
Yeah, this is a GoFundMe game. I like that. That's good. Yeah, we try to limit ourselves to one game a year that is ridiculously expensive to acquire. And so for November, we're going to be playing R-Type 3, which of course was on the Super NES. And now, it also got a release later on the Game Boy Advance.
Don't play the Game Boy Advance one.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Don't play the Game Boy Advance one.
I'm still going to check it out for the podcast.
May God have mercy on your soul.
It did also, within the last 3 years, it got a licensed reissue through Retrobit. And of course, I don't know if there are copies still available, but you may be able to find those via Retrobit or Castlemania Games. There have been a couple of places you could buy it. And so, for those of you who absolutely have to have a physical copy, that may be a cheaper method to get a hold of one. But
plus, it comes with some goodies.
Yes, it does, and it's a very nice package. Actually, I bought the larger box version that has some extra cool stuff. So that's what we're going to be playing in November.
As always, we'd like to shout out and say thanks to Ed, or Ed209 of Studio Mudprints, Bullet Heaven for the logo. Like to also thank him for making an awesome and sporting the Shoot the Corecast orange shirt. Like to thank Kogosu for the intro and outro music. Everyone from the RF Generation Playcast and Collector Cast. And like to thank MetalFRO for always entertaining us with his... I almost said dog and pony show, but that's not right. It's more like a dog and dog show with your chihuahuas, to making things interesting.
You're right.
And I also like to thank Someguy for joining us and for creating this awesome game.
Always, definitely. I would love to see more indie content in the future. So, I will be doing my best to support them. I hope you guys will too.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you would like to plug before we wrap up, Someguy?
Play a Sword Shell.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for listening so much, and we will see you next month.
so chill.